I thought about making a review video in regards to Overwatch 2. The Overwatch 2 is dying, 80% of players are gone. Alright, let's just jump
Overwatch
right
is
into
one of
it.
the most successful IPs of all time. Whether you love or hate it, the results it has seen over the years are undeniable. The Overwatch experience varies from player to player, and yet it plays like something that is truly impossible to find anywhere else. Overwatch 2 tripled the membership of its Game of the Year predecessor in its first month, and yet does the game feel a bit dead? So what were
I just played the game yesterday. Doesn't seem to be a dead game.
the expectations with Overwatch 2? New content, new balancing that made the game feel more fluid and allowing more heroes to be viable. A fresh feel to an IP that was loved by many and truly difficult to replicate, as the many failed Overwatch clones with arguably better balance began to simply fall to irrelevancy. All the while the titan that was Overwatch 1 stood strong. Seriously.
I think this over-embracement of the game state Overwatch 1 is a little bit incorrect. The thing is, it's year 2023, and even though the game was released on year 2022, the game state and constant updates were lagging. Everything was not being constantly processed and updated because for a very singular reason. There was only two payment methods that you could contribute to the game development and further expansion. That would be the purchase of the game, that was around from $20 to I think 40 or 50, and later on that was loot boxes. That was absolute gamble. However, not trying to tolerate the loot boxes thing, but it was kind of a thing that if you play long enough, you can get any skin in the game that you wish. So it was kind of if you wish to get new skin, you can purchase stuff, but most likely you didn't have to. So if you compare like Overwatch 2 to Overwatch 1, I see that Overwatch 1 do have very narrow field when it comes to appealing to certain audiences, and Overwatch 2 is more of a for broader audiences, where if you want to play the shooter game that has a lot of skins, a lot of characters, a lot of variety, you can do so within the game. But if you're looking into the if you're looking to spend within the game a lot, have a different skins, different abilities, new champions, this game has ability to offer this for you as well.
A titan. Overwatch 1 was Game of the Year and had over 50 million users by 2019. However, 2019 would be roughly the point where that game would start to see an extreme decline due to some poor decisions in game balance.
I remember playing the game since the very start. I think I joined Overwatch 1 at Season 2 when it just began, and the game was a blast. Everyone was enjoying the game, but the game has no incentive for you to keep on moving, keep on playing the game. This is a generic shooter, and all of the hype that's been built up by the community, by everyone expecting the game, the hype is easily fades and people just leave. So there's no incentive for you to play if you don't like the game. So you purchase the game, you log on to the game, you try the game. If it's appealing to you or not, you can only find out if you buy the game and play the game. There was no trial or demo versions back in the day. So I don't really accept this to be a poor decision. I expect this to be more of a trying to find the community that can be settled, that is common and constantly that would be constantly playing the game, as you can't really expect player base to be high at the very start from the very popular publisher and then go even higher from the game. I think if that thing would have happened, I would probably guess it was a poor PR marketing of some sort, where the game was not enough advertised. But in this case, the billion-dollar company, they have PR ready, and the game was announced years before launch. And I even watched developer videos. It says that the game was in development for over 10 years. So such decline, it's not a surprise. It's a expected thing, and let's not overreact over this.
Brigida had been full swing, no pun intended at this point, and absolutely ruining the experience of Overwatch at the top 30% of the game, giving the rise to the dreaded GOATS meta, a meta which involved 0 DPSs, 3 tanks, and 3 supports. From there, we also saw our introduction of role queue, which then introduced Sigma and created the double shield meta, yet another meta where most DPSs simply felt unplayable, driving...
Yeah, that does exist. Yeah, that does exist. But it does exist in every other game. So either you have faster killing methods, or you want to keep players playing as long as you like for player base to try exploiting other players, try fighting for best points to flank. For example, if you're playing a Widow, you can sneak behind the corner, you can find the person that is simply trying to peek, and you can just snipe the person. And if that person is a healer, good, you have an advantage. And the game creates those opportunities. So DPSs is just opportunity lurkers, and tanks is just there to stay, to dominate and slowly push other team. So I think this is regards not to the game style itself, as this is more of an aggressive playstyle of the game that is currently happening in Overwatch 2. I still feel the need that there should be modifications where you can play Overwatch 1 with all of the stun locks and all of the restrictions that the game offered within the abilities, but Overwatch 2 is more active, it's more engaging, and if you haven't tried it, it's free to play game, you can do that. And if, yeah, why not?
Having more and more players from the game, which, when combined with the fact that people now had a queue for specific roles, started skyrocketing the queue times, and we still feel the effects of that even now.
I don't believe
the game
this queue.
continued on its path of poor balancing and the various issues that
This guy left the Blizzard, and I believe this was due to mass accusations of I don't really recall, but it was a very massive thing about how men mistreated women in Blizzard. It was a huge deal.
Blizzard went through during the COVID era between lawsuits and, well, COVID just amplified these issues as the player base became more and more alienated, and the new heroes and content just outright stopped. So we were ready for something different. What we ended up getting was a game that had a ton of new balancing changes, 3 new heroes, and unfortunately the...
It's so crazy that a game that is in development and was announced to have PvE content within the game are being released just with 3 new heroes, new map mode, and that's about it. The rest of the things are not changed. Most of the abilities been removed or modified, so the core of the game it's not changed. For example, you can compare any other game that has title. Can you compare like GTA 1 to GTA 2, or GTA 3 to GTA San Andreas, or GTA San Andreas to GTA 5? Can you see the difference? Of course you can. It's easy to spot difference, and you can't really compare those two. But in Overwatch case, it's just same game, new maps, to couple of characters, and the balance changes. That's it. So saying that it's Overwatch 2, I don't agree. I think it should be some sort of a DLC, but not a brand new game. I don't believe that to be so.
most horrible server problems imaginable at launch. Every single screen was the...
Every game has server launch problems, and it's common. No one remember those launch problems ever. So keeping yourself tied to the very launch of the game time, it's nonsense.
The connecting screen as Blizzard faced DDoS attacks designed to injure the launch of Overwatch 2, and yet it persevered, as some of the biggest names in gaming all flocked to play and grind Overwatch 2. It is pretty difficult to calculate how much damage the early server problems did to the game, but it was overall minimal in the grand scheme of things, as Blizzard revealed a month later that it already had 35 million players. To go along with this, Overwatch 2 was pulling in 185...
Let's check the stats. I don't really understand.
5,000 average viewers for the entire month of September. And this is usually how massive mainstay AAA games start off, as we've seen with titles such as Valorant or Warzone, before they end up decaying down a bit to more realistic and steady levels. But with Overwatch 2, the viewership has not just decayed, it has straight up spiked. November's Twitch viewership was down to just 33,000, with December on track to do even worse before the Season 2 launch. And YouTube views have also seen a significant decrease compared to the launch, where it almost felt easy to get a quick couple million views with Overwatch 2 content. So what happened? Is it over? Is Overwatch 2 dying? Well, no, not yet. And
So the title is a clickbait. Okay.
not for this viewership reason. Christmas time is here, and Santa has left in your stocking an easy and quick way to get to GM. There has never been a better time to get your membership to GameLeap.com. You can use...
I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Meanwhile, let's check how Twitch is going, right? Okay, let's see Twitch. Twitch, and let's...
Yeah, the pawns are...
I'm inside Twitch. And one of the most popular games that are on the board is... I don't see Overwatch. Oh, there it is. How could I miss it? There it is. There's the Overwatch. What the hell? Yeah, it's not like one random guy. It's a lot of people watching Overwatch too.
pretty harshly so far into the game. We still have characters that are completely unplayable and oftentimes result in getting harassed simply for selecting them. Some great examples being
The more popular the game is, the more toxicity you're gonna get. The problem is not the toxic people, it's the filtering system that allows such behavior.
Doomfist in Season 1 and Mercy especially. But the problem is there is nowhere else you can truly experience Doom or Mercy style gameplay. No shooter out there even comes close, which is why the base of these two characters are so dedicated, and this goes to many more than just these two. They simply love the style and are willing to push through all of the adversity to continue enjoying it. And we all have our favorite heroes as well, and I speak for most OW enjoyers when I say there's nothing that really scratches the same itch that Overwatch does, which really presents an issue since the better...
That's absolutely true. I tried all of the FPSs. None of them could even get close to Overwatch 2 level of complexity and role type play. I love it. I really like Overwatch 2.
You get at Overwatch, the more rigid the game becomes, especially when there is an oppressive meta that is in place, such as GOATs or Double Shield.
Yeah. And the competitive ranking is crazy.
It creates this weird issue where the better that you get at a hero, the better you are, the less control you end up having over your games. This of course doesn't apply to every hero, especially ones that are meta like Sojourn, but if you're playing an off-meta hero, you just end up climbing only to feel like you're really coin flipping it.
I don't agree. The thing is, I'm not sure how deeply invested this guy is that is doing the review. This is Game Leap, Overwatch 2 Guides, the channel. The thing is, if you're playing on the top leagues like Diamond, like Platinum or higher, I don't know, Challenger, right? Then, yes, I believe those minor changes, those minor damages that you can apply, those do affect your game style and can change course of the battle for you. But I personally, I was Plat, I was gold, now I'm deep in silver. The thing is, I'm a casual gamer. For me, meta does not exist. If I take Pharah is off meta always. If I take Pharah, people can't shoot at targets that are in air. Or if I take Torbjorn, people can't really understand how turret can do so much damage within the match, where if you go into competitive match views, Torbjorn is always the weakest character because the turret is being focused right the second when it appears on the screen and it disappears. And small little guy with a weak gun is never been a competitive type of a material in Overwatch, ever. So different rankings and different playstyles refers to different types of people and different types of people that are looking to enjoy the game. So this meta thing, I'm not sure from which game it came, probably like Dota or League of Legends, but in Overwatch 2, for lower rankings, it doesn't exist. Even I can tell you that that if you're gonna focus too much on the meta, the moment the meta switches, and it switches like I think once a month, you will not have a main character within the game, as you will always be switching and trying to adapt your playstyle. You need to find the character that works for you the best and play with that character, not play the meta. That never works. It never did for anyone.
At one point. This is a recurring problem that drives away players season after season, and it's why constant balancing is going to be a necessity in Overwatch 2. Simply put, Overwatch 2 is and always will be a game that is very different at the top, and it also just so happens that the majority of the creator base is playing near this level. This is not to say that there aren't streamers under Diamond, it's just that these streamers tend to not be sticking around for very long, or are more so personality streamers. This obviously will not translate to longevity, as these people will go on to play the next big title that releases, or they'll hash up some old classics for the nostalgia factor when they get bored of Overwatch. So going back to that high level creator base, a lot of them lose touch with what is present at lower ranks and how different the game can be at each division of play. A hero like Sojourn has as close,
as I mentioned, different ranking, different playstyle. So you need to pick what works for you. Just imagine like playing a DPS and just think of I saw so many times playing a Reaper and just shooting enemy from far. And if anyone, you should know, like playing Reaper, you need to shoot enemies from very close by, because you have a shotguns. You have 2 shotguns. And if you're shooting enemy from afar, you're not doing any damage. So what's the point of you shooting at distance if you're not doing any damage, right? But if you play like snipers too much, or if you play tanks, you're used to being in front line and shooting people. So if you're not adapting it, if you're not understanding the role you are playing, and you're just playing the meta, you're not gonna fool no one. You're gonna fall through the ranks, you're gonna be at the very bottom, and it's not gonna be fun for you. It's not gonna be fun for anyone who's playing with you. So you need to find your heroes and climb with those heroes to the certain point of the game. And I believe, I personally, I can tell, I watched so many videos regards to how to play Overwatch, but only part of those videos stuck with me. The thing is, I'm not sure if you're aware of tilt. Tilt is the moment when that happens when you kill some other player and you feel the rush of adrenaline, that you think that, okay, I'm having a very good aim and I can kill other people's too. And you go too far and you die. The thing is, if you're tilting, if you don't know your team positioning, it will never matter what type of role you play if you die a lot. The main objective of the game is to kill more people and die as little times as possible. Playing as a tank, playing as a healer, playing as a DPS. So you need to go in, kill people, go out. Or go in, do some damage, and allow your teammates to finish off your target. So you could play it together, because this is a team co-op game, and if you're not playing with a team, you're playing solo, you're gonna fall through ranks, you're not gonna raise through ranks, and at a certain point, even if you have like 50 eliminations in the game, 50 kills, that's not gonna help you. You're just gonna get to the ceiling. I believe it's gonna be silver, where you will be expected to be on point. You could be expected to stand the ground, and if you're only doing killing, you will lose objective. You will not progress within the game, within the rankings. So you need to know the positioning and the game itself.
close to a 100% pick rate in high rank Overwatch as you can possibly get due to her extremely versatile kit, which disproportionately rewards skilled players, meaning that even though she is a must pick at these high ranks, she can absolutely be a feed pick in the lower ones. So why bring all of this up? Well, it's important because these high rank players typically have to deal with the most rigid part of the game, where heroes are essentially must picks and others are avoids. This causes lots of frustrations in this community and can lead to an uneven amount of negativity coming out about Overwatch 2, since these players are experiencing a much more in the box version of the game, and since this is where the majority of the bigger creators are, we get a very skewed public vision. Either the only points being made are the same negative ones that are present within every content creator, or their communities echoing it because they rely on their creator to be the reliable sources of information. This is why it's important to remember that there is a very strong casually competitive, meaning those who enjoy trying to win but do not sink the same hours as a pro might, player base that play and enjoy the game. And even worse, as the game continues carrying on, the viewership will continue to drop, which will result in even more fatigue for the creators who are.
I somehow believe video is meant to be a clickbait, and if you made up your mind to quit the game, this is gonna be your motivator to finally uninstall the game. And if you're playing the game, this has no impact. For me personally, it's really scary how impactless this video is for me.
Are going to be the most vocal minority because they have the platform to speak from. Ultimately, there is a simple truth with Overwatch 2 that was present all the same in Overwatch 1 and will forever be the case with a game like it. It is simply not a viewer-friendly game. There's a few reasons why this is, including some of the stuff we already went through before, but let's provide the evidence first. Esports viewership is generally a good way to gauge the viewer excitement level of a game. When you see a game that has a steady flow of key moments where players can make or break and take control of the match entirely, you'll generally see mainstays in esports. CSGO is the easiest comparison and the most rooted titan of the FPS esports industry out there. It is over a decade old now, and yet in 2022 had a major tournament that pulled in 550,000 average
The viewership of CS is crazy.
Viewers with a peak of 1.5 million. These are numbers which Overwatch or Overwatch 2 has never seen, even at its best during the 2018 inaugural season of Overwatch League, which saw a comparatively meager 140,000 average view count with a peak of only 440,000. As I mentioned before, this is simply down to the pacing of the game. CSGO is very slow and tense as the players feel out their opponents and the defenses they have set up to look for an advantage. This gives a much needed rise of tension to the moment, and due to how the game functions, all the players are on even footing. There is no tank, there's no DPS, there are just 5 players who fill different strategic.
CS, it has all of the 5 players fighting other 5 players without classes, without abilities, only with your purchase ability to buy new weapons. That's it. In Overwatch, it's uncomparable game. Bridge between CS and bridge between Overwatch is Valorant. So it's a mix of both. But if you want to go to full in fantasy style, you go to Overwatch. If you want a reality check, you go to CS. If you have incentive to play a little bit of CS, a little bit of Overwatch, you go for Valorant. But the thing is, I'm not sure if you played Valorant or not. I have played it for like, I don't know, 40 hours, something like that right now. And the game is very small. It's just very, I don't know, it's very limiting. I don't know, I get this feeling where races are limited maps. There's only so few maps, few map modes, even though the game is super pleasing to play. Has great sound, great animations, but it just feels like a very small game.
Roles, but mechanically all have the same options. This means that one player can suddenly swing the entire match, making an outplay that catches 2 to 3 opponents off guard and can suddenly turn around, which has potentially grave consequences for those on the receiving end. These players then have to scramble to get their advantage back or to avoid losing entirely, which creates really exciting moments for the audience on both sides. But in Overwatch, you end up taking 5 very different pieces, all of whom have different capabilities, and meshing them together to try to create an ultra cohesive team. This means that from the point of view of the viewer, much of the nuance and strategy will just go over their heads of those who are simply trying to casually watch and be in awe of what the top can accomplish. And they'll often find themselves disappointed, since the odds of winning something like a 3 vs 1 in Overwatch are so slim that it rarely ever.
That's a good point. Never thought about it.
Happens. So most of the time, whoever has the better core team is generally just gonna win. Add this into the sometimes stale and super niche high-level metas that I brought up before that are not.
Let's check the meta. So it's Sojourn, Lucio. Okay.
Not present at the lower levels, such as the previously mentioned Sojourn, and you have a recipe for something that's just uninspiring. There's no connection between someone who is in silver or gold and an Overwatch League player. There's not even mechanics that you can really truly enjoy because it's more about the team. Which means that as far as creators go, you simply cannot get away with just being good. You also have to contribute something of value or a personality that people love, such as SQC or Emong or Flats. And the issue with this is that most of the people who do have something like this are going to end up becoming independent of Overwatch. Which leads us back to the question at hand. Is Overwatch 2 dying? My answer, no, it isn't. It certainly has dropped in view count over the last months, but the community is still as engaged as ever. With constant posting and talking about Overwatch, new people meeting other new people every day, and a host of content slating to come going forward, I think the game is thriving at the moment. There wasn't enough time to cover other topics like the questionable rank system, the bugs that have been ever present so far, heroes straight up getting removed, the effects of the extremely long queue times on viewership, or the various other questionable decisions that have been made. But you simply cannot say that this version of Overwatch was worse than the double shield days, which saw an all-time low player count.
Oh yeah.
I love Overwatch, as do millions of others, and I think that a little bit of faith can go a long way, because today's version of the game still at least looks better than the days of old. I hope you all enjoyed. Please take care and peace. Christmas time is here, and
Exactly, Christmas time is here. Even though it's year 2023, the sale has never been better. If you want, you can go to gtastore.com and buy new games. Wanted to add this. Okay, I think this covers state of the game of Overwatch 2 for us. I hope this was a fun watch for you. Watch more videos and see you in the next one.